Hello students, take out your book, chapter 1 of economics. We have already started chapter 1 of economics, the basic concepts of the economics. And in my previous classes, sorry, I have explained the definitions given by Adam Smith, then Alfred Marshall. And today I'll explain the definitions given by Lionel Robbins. Now, Lionel Robbins, in his book, An Essay on the Nature and Significance of Economic Science, that was published in 1932, there he had given the definition. Now, according to his definition, that what he had given in his book, economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. This is the definition given by Lionel Robbins. And this definition is the most accepted one. Among all the definitions, this one is the most accepted one, the definition given by Robbins. Now, why this definition is the most accepted one? Because in his definition, he highlighted three important things, and these three things were missing from the other definitions. And these definitions, these three important things that is he mentioned. And first important thing is, he said that human wants are unlimited. Yes, in our life, our wants are unlimited. There is no end of our wants. Wants means needs, our needs. One after another, we need the things. One is satisfied, the next moment we need another thing. That is satisfied, or that need is satisfied, another thing will come. So there is no limit of our needs. We want to get more and more. Human beings are never satisfied. How much we have, then also we want to get more and more. So this is very practical in our life. This is very applicable in our human life. And he has mentioned this thing in his definition. Clear? Then second thing he mentioned that resources to satisfy human wants are limited. In one hand, our needs are unlimited. There is no end of our needs. Unlimited needs we human beings have. On the other hand, resources to satisfy our needs are limited. Now, first thing is, our needs are unlimited. Now, to fulfill our needs, what do we want? The resource we want. Suppose we need a dress today. To buy the dress, what do we want? We want money. Okay? We got the dress. Then we need one bicycle. What do we want to buy this? Money. We have bought. Again, after a few days, we need one bike. What do you want? What is the resource for this? Money. But is money available? Is money available? No. As our needs are unlimited, that way the resource is not unlimited. There is some limit of the resource. And with this limited resource, we have to satisfy our needs, unlimited needs. Resources, that means a resource to satisfy our needs are limited. with this limited resource we have to satisfy we have to get unlimited things. So this thing Lionel Robbins had mentioned, and which is very, very applicable in human life. And then the third thing he had mentioned is that scarce resources have alternative uses. Since the resources are limited and wants are unlimited, so what do we do? Scarce resources have alternative uses. These scarce resources, limited resources, we use alternatively. Now we see which is more important or most important. One boy, suppose he needs a dress, he needs a bicycle, he needs a book, and he has to go, suppose, out of the place to see the new places. Now, so many needs he has, but to fulfill these needs, what is needed? Money. Money is needed to fulfill these needs. Now, this money, whatever limited money he has to use for alternative uses. From all these needs, which one is the most important one? First, the money has to be spent on this. Human being first uses money for this, which is more important. Maybe he needs a book. So, first of all, money will be spent to buy a book. Maybe next will be dress. Dress is a next important thing. So, maybe the school uniform. So, money will be spent for school uniform. So, that way the scarce resources have alternative uses, and these scarce resources are used alternatively, seeing the importance of the needs. Not that scarce resource are used at a time to fulfill all the needs at the same time. No. Alternatively, scarce resources are used. And so, all the sites, the definition given by Lionel Robbins had covered. All the important things he has mentioned in his definition, and that is why his definition given by Lionel Robbins is the most applicable one, which is applied in our life. So it is the accepted definition. Marshall's definition also criticized, Adam Smith's definition also criticized, but his is better than other definitions. And Samuelson and Northus also, he had given almost the similar scarcity and efficiency. Accepting the reality of the existence of the scarcity. The efficient uses of resources are used efficiently. Resources are scarce, limited, so these resources are used efficiently. Alright? So, Lionel Robbins, remember this is the most applicable definition, most accepted one. This definition is most accepted one, and all the that the points he highlighted, these 3 points, you have to remember these 3 points, very often it comes. Then comes scopes of economics. Now, few things are very common in the economics, and these things, when you say economics, there are few things which are included in the subject economics, which are studied in the subject economics, which are the main subject matter of economics. And the first thing is consumption. we human being, as I said, we have our needs and we have to satisfy our needs. We have to suppose we have a need for a car, we have a need for a bike, we have a need for a house, we have a need for a dress. So many needs we have. And then we can satisfy these needs when we consume it, when you buy the things. So consumption, that the important, one of the significant scope of economics is consumption, and this consumption leads to our that satisfy our wants. When you consume the thing, it satisfies our wants. We need a book, we need a dress, and when you buy a dress, it satisfies our wants. So this is consumption. Then production. Now, people, they consume the things, they buy the things, but unless the things are produced, whether it is agricultural products, whether it is industrial products, but things have to be produced. When we need a thing, when you consume, unless the things are produced, we cannot consume, and unless we consume, we cannot satisfy our needs. So consumption, and then to consume, production is needed. And there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and organization. These are the 4 factors of production. Any kind of production, whether agricultural products, crops, whether the industrial product, big industries, production of car, production of bike, even production of suppose chalk, production of a duster, very simple things, right from car till duster till chalk, that 4 factors are needed. Without these 4 factors, production is not possible, and these 4 factors are land, labor, capital, and organization, and these are the means of production. And when these means of production remain at the hands of the government, then it is a socialist country, or the principle is socialism. And when this means of production remains at the private individual, then it becomes a capitalist country, or the principle becomes capitalism. Then distribution. Now things are produced, but unless the things are produced, those goods are distributed, we cannot consume. Now production should be distributed from the industry or from the crop field. It must reach to the, suppose the big merchants, from the merchant to the wholesaler, from the wholesaler to the retail seller, and from the retail seller, then only we can consume. We will not go to the paddy field to buy rice. We will not go to the industry to buy any industrial materials or to buy clothes. We will not go to the any industry, any mill to buy the clothes, or to buy the book. We will not go to the printing press. We have to go to the retail shops, and then only we can buy. That means products are distributed, brought to the different shops, different centers, step by step. Then only it comes to our hand. It comes to us with that retail shops, and then we buy it. Then exchange. No individual, no society, no country is self-sufficient. It may be due to the climatic condition, due to the variation of land, due to the supply of labor, due to the resources, due to the technology. A country or a society or a place cannot produce all the commodities, all the things that the people of the particular country or particular society need. And for this, a reason, a society country has to depend on others, and which leads to the exchange. Things are exchanged. Whatever is uh, available, that things are supplied, and whatever is not available, that is bought. Earlier, when there was no money, there was the system of barter economy. Now also, that you must have heard that Junbil Mela, their things are exchanged, isn't it? And in the district of Marigaon, the Junbil Mela is held, and then that earlier barter system. Some brings, suppose some crops, some potatoes, some ginger, some this, that, and then they exchange. And this exchange is done not only in between one or two communities or society, and then it is among the countries, which is international level also, these exchanges are done. Then comes money. Now, money, as all of us we know what is money, isn't it? Now, today's economy is known as money economy. Everything is that price, means everything is bought with the help of money. Money determines the value of the commodity. Money means price, and that determines the value of the commodity. Earlier, when there was no money, so there was the barter system. Goods were exchanged for goods, but now we are not using the barter system. Since it is the present economy is known as the money economy, we are using money. In exchange of money, we are buying the things, and whatever money we pay, that is the price of the commodity, and price of the commodity means value of the commodity. If this pen, looking at the pen, we can make out maybe 5 rupees, maximum maybe 10 rupees, but it cannot be 50,000, isn't it? That means the value of this thing is 5 rupees. The value of this pen is not 50,000. A card, value of a card will not be 10 rupees or 5 rupees, because its value is maybe 5 lakhs. When a card is bought for 5 lakhs means the value of the card is 5 lakhs. When a pen is bought for 5 rupees, that means the value of the pen is 5 rupees. Then comes income. Now, income means that it may be the individual income, it is income of the country. Now, individual income, the study of it is called the per capita income per head. Income per head is called, each individual income is called per capita income. When it is country's income, then it is called national income. Income of the nation, national income, income of each individual, per capita income. So this comes under the study of economics. That public finance, government borrowing, government finance, then study of the tax, study of the government income, expenditure, revenue, everything comes within public finance. Public means the government things. Okay, government income, government expenditure, then collection of taxes, government borrows money from maybe from International Monetary Fund, from the World Bank, or from different country, that is public debt. So all this comes under public finance, and that is that comes in the scope of, within the scope of economics. Then welfare economics. Now, economics is not only the study of consumption, distribution, production and all, it is also welfare of the country, welfare of the society, welfare of the economy. Suppose the development of education, removal of illiteracy, it is welfare activities. Removal of illiteracy, it is welfare activity. Establishment of educational institutions, welfare activities. So all these come under the scope of economics. Economics of environment. Now the process of industrialization to facilitate the rapid economic development, which has led to the breakdown of environmental equilibrium, has caused a great deal of concern among the social scientists. Now, economics environment. As we all know, the process of industrialization is going on at the rapid speed. As it is said that the countries which are industrial countries, which are advanced in industries, those countries are very developed countries. And the countries which are not advanced in industries, they are developing countries. And so each country is trying to be industrialized. More and more industries they are starting, the countries are setting up the industries. And as we know, because of industrialization, deforestation is going on. Industries are leaving the smokes, carbon dioxide, different gases, waste materials, and polluting the whole environment. Because of industrialization is economic activities, but this economic activity is polluting the whole environment, and this is that comes under the study of economics, the scope of economics, and this and economic environment, it is a concern of the economic scientists or all the economists. They are so much they are thinking of this, because industrialization cannot be stopped. Industrialization has to go, and at the same time our environment also should be safe. So that has become a great concern of the social scientists, economic scientists or economists. And so all these things come under the scope of economics. Alright, today we'll stop it, and then I think all of you have understood, but the thing is that you have to go through it. It's very new thing for you all, isn't it? You have not studied all these things before, and I want you all to go through it. Our next class, I'll explain the next, and then for in case I'm not able to finish it before your exam, that how much we'll do, that much only you'll study, okay? Because there are lots of so many question answers also there, so I don't know whether we'll be able to finish or not. So how much we'll do, that much only you'll study. Okay, we'll stop for today.